I blame our social media team for this. They put something out on our Twitter a moment or two ago comparing Messi to Maradona, and obviously we're having a little bit of a rage. We're getting stuck.
Do you know what would be a good question to ask an actual Argentinian who they see as the biggest GOAT?
No doubt in my mind.
Every Argentinian would say that Maradona is,
100%.
No, I said I agree. I just wondered how they see it as.
I don't even think they think it's a debate. 03717 22 33 44. Our social media team have put it out there, hence us having that little bit of a conversation. And we want to get your thoughts on it as well. We are taking your calls as well on England. We'll get stuck into that in a minute. But seeing as that everybody wants to weigh in on the Maradona-Messi debate, you're more than welcome to do so. What do you reckon, Pat?
Absolutely spot on with the point about Maradona. I think if you're going to ask an Argentina fan which one they prefer out of the two, then who's won them World Cups? You know, Maradona's delivered the big trophies, Messi hasn't. But when you compare like Messi and Ronaldo and you look at how they've performed, there's always an asterisk with Messi about he's got a team built around him at Barcelona, he's never moved around. You know, Maradona won World Cups and did everything with his country and, you know, with clubs and stuff, did absolutely unreal things. Gary Lineker tells that story about Maradona's skills where he's warming up for a game and he launches the ball up into the air as hard as he can 13 times in a row, I think it is, and never has to go more than 3 paces to then launch it up again and again. Like the ball was glued to his foot, and it's frightening what he would do on a modern pitch with a modern football.
I agree, man. Do you know something? And people say this all the time about certain players, don't they? You know what I mean? Like Gaza, for example, comes into that conversation. George Best comes into that conversation. Yeah. And people always say, I wonder what they would have been like if they would have, you know, been a healthy athlete, staying 100% clean as a whistle, entering football matches. But sometimes things like that are what make that particular player. They're the things that give that player the edge. Without the rock and roll, you don't necessarily get the performance. Now, I'm not condoning all the behaviours of the people that I've just mentioned there, but I suppose that's what that's what put Maradona on the edge. And as well as that, it also humanised him, because all these other superstars that you're mentioning there, and they are elite footballers, Messi, Ronaldo and all this lot that we're talking about, but they feel like they're from outer space. They feel like they're from a different planet. Whereas Maradona feels like he'd be down the boozer with you after the match.
He kept it real.
Yeah, he feel like he'd be hanging out. He feel like he'd turn up and do a Sunday league game for you on a Sunday morning after he just walloped the Premier League on Saturday. That's what he feels like he would do.
But you get it on the flip side of that. You've got to remember that all the players they're playing against were like that as well. So in the modern era, you know, these strikers are playing against world-class defenders and midfielders who are absolutely on the ball and super fit. And, you know, you look at reputations from going back in the day, who are the biggest drinkers in football teams? Your centre-halves, you know, your defenders. So did they actually get an advantage by being the less affected by that sort of lifestyle? It's the beauty of the sort of cross-generational debates, you know, with Pele playing with a weighty leather football and then Maradona and then on to what the lads do today. You know, you just don't know. It's that unknown. But Maradona's delivered for club, for country. He's moved out of his comfort zone, like you said with Napoli on the caller before, you know, to win stuff. And I think Messi has made it difficult to argue a case for him. You know, he could well be, but he hasn't proved it. He stayed at the easy option. He stayed at Barcelona for years. He's gone to a big money PSG team where it's all built around him. You know, he's never really pushed himself. And I think that just, you know, Maradona's got the better proof there with what he's done, I think.
All right, if Lionel Messi wins the World Cup, is it then for a debate that the greatest of all time is Lionel Messi?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you look at Messi's last couple of World Cups and you look at the squads that Argentina have taken to them. You know, yes, they've lost in a final, but has he underperformed over 12 years with Argentina and the players and the squads that they've got? Is one World Cup at the end of it enough? I don't think it is.
But you could say that about Maradona. He only won the one World Cup.
Yeah, but did you see the team that he was in?
And how many World Cups did he play in?
There was only him.
How many World Cups did he play in? That he didn't win.
Three or four World Cups.
Yeah,
he finished in 94, didn't he? Yeah.
Played in numerous World Cups.
You look at, you know, the team that Aguero and Tellez and everyone's been in, and, you know, countless players over the years. You know, Messi got to the final and he didn't turn up. In the one World Cup final he had, and, you know, the biggest stage, he didn't deliver. You know, and like you said, Maradona's only needed that one chance, and I think he just edges it, just based on what we saw from him. Whereas Messi, I think, has left too many questions by taking the career path that he's taken.
I'm with you, man. I'm feeling you, Pat. I'm feeling that. Tony, what do you reckon, my man? We're talking all things GOAT. Go for it.
I would agree with the last caller. I think you've got to perform at the highest level, you know? So I think for that reason, you'd have to put Maradona just above Messi. But I think there's a few different arguments. I think you're probably talking about the most talented player of all time. Yeah, Maradona, I think Messi, they're probably a very similar level. Another one I would probably put in that category was my father's favourite player, George Best. From what I saw and what my dad told me, he could do everything with the ball. But I think in terms of the greatest of all time, there's this term in basketball, a clutch player, a player who can put it, like turn it on. In basketball, you're talking about Michael Jordan, isn't it? The person who always turns up at the right time. And in football, I think that the closest equivalent, it would have to be Pele. If you look at what he did, how young he did it, youngest Brazilian scorer at 16 still to this day, youngest player to get a hat-trick at the 58 World Cup, 17 still. What he did with Santos as well, which I think most people don't realize. People talk about he didn't play in Europe. In 61, he won the Brazilian Championship, then he won the Copa. 62, he did the same thing. Won the Intercontinental, beat Benfica, beat AC Milan. He was beating all Europe's best. Whoever, Beckenbauer, Moore, just Fontaine, he was beating all Europe's best. I think the best thing about Pele, 1958, he was 17, won the World Cup, and Mario Zagallo was his teammate. 12 years later, a completely different era in 1970, Mario Zagallo was his manager. And Pele went and blitzed the World Cup in 1970. And to this day...
Good argument. That's a good argument. He's done it in every era.
Listen, exactly. But to this day, that 1970 Brazil team is the only team in history to have gone through the whole of the qualifiers and the whole of the actual World Cup to have won every single game. And he was the head of that team. So He's the greatest to me.
Pele,
Tony, why did you come and give us that argument, right? You
Pele,
know what I mean? We were rocking and rolling there with the Maradona thing, and then you come with facts. We don't like facts on here. Well done, Tony. Great call, my man.